Welcome to Garden Plants with Jem Putnam. Let's talk Carolina Jessamine. This is Gelsemium sempervirens, sometimes called Carolina Jasmine, sometimes called Carolina Jessamine, several other names it goes by. It's a native to the southeast United States. It's evergreen or semi-evergreen. It will thin some in the winter. Has beautiful, actual, long, narrow, lanceolate foliage. And then in the early spring, it puts on this incredible, fragrant yellow show. So again, it is evergreen. It will thin some in tougher winters. You'll not be quite as full as what you're seeing it here. This is being shot right at the beginning of March, which is typically the time it's starting to think about flowering. We're having an early season this year. During the height of the winter, it can get kind of a bronzish foliage to it, which is actually pretty interesting as well. These are very slow to get started. So you put one of these in the ground and think that I'm making it up how fast this thing can grow, because it can take a season or two for it to get its roots under it and really get started. Once it does, this is a very fast growing vine. It can definitely, take 20 feet on a fence. If you plant it here, it'll go 10 foot in each direction easily, minimum, and then from there get even bigger. So it has a bell-shaped, very fragrant flower on it. At times they have a lot of fragrance different times of the day. It seems like I can walk past this one that's on our street and have it just be kind of overwhelming, and then the next time down the street, not really pick up anything on it. But incredible bright yellow flower. And then they're hardy. Typically we'll say they're hardy in zone 7 to 9, and that's what I'm going to say for this video. But I do occasionally see people say they can grow this in zone 6. So if you're in zone 6B and you're growing Carolina Jasmine or Carolina Jessamine, let us know down below and what kind of condition it's in that's allowing you to do that. These are, vines, native vines like this are interesting. This thing can germinate down in the shade, in a typical wooded place, and then grow up a tree over time, build up that energy, grow up a tree to get out into the sunlight, because it really does need direct sunlight in order to do this. And so typically we'll call this, this is a full sun vine, but it can be, if you're gonna grow it on something that's gonna allow it to get up into the sun, it can start off in a shady condition. So one of my favorite uses for evergreen vines is what I call a fence extension. So this fence is, a 5.5 foot tall fence, and you got an extra 2 feet of vine up on top of it. So frequently maybe you're on a narrow lot and you don't have enough room, or there just isn't a plant that you can put there to create a screen. But if you have a fence, you can use an evergreen vine. I'll frequently say, any evergreen vine is good for this. And again, once, it's got to be in the ground a couple years, but once it does, look how fast, you could have a screen. People will use these for ground covers. My experience is I've never seen it, where it's just like a carpet on the ground. Most of the time it seems like they're kind of crawling so that they can find something to climb on again. Uniquely, though, amongst vines, this one will kind of weep down a bit. It will cascade, and you can see that, and it presenting its flowers into the sun, which I think is, is quite striking, quite beautiful, whereas a lot of other vines will only go vertical, and you don't necessarily see this, this cascading look that this one has. Beyond just being a fence decoration like this one is, it'll climb pretty much anything you want it to climb on, and this one has, gone up into a tree here, and up a pole, and it's in the it's in the electric line up here above us. This is the South Carolina state flower. It's extremely adaptable. It can go in moist areas, not wet, but moist conditions. It's a plant that will be very drought tolerant once it's established, but it doesn't necessarily like that. A lot of times when we say something is drought tolerant, in people's minds that means, well, I don't have to do any maintenance to it whatsoever. I don't think you're going to get this look, this vigorous habit, this really fresh foliage and fresh flowering in a spot where you just never do anything, you neglect it completely. So make sure, if it's abnormally dry at some time, that you are watering this. So this vine is capable of pretty much anything the Southeast has to throw at it. So if you're in a coastal area, it is mildly salt tolerant. If you're in any, it likes slightly acidic soils, that tends to define most of the Southeast. And so most of what we would have here would be, this native vine is used to it and can adapt to it. These are maintenance-wise. This is a vine. It's not going to stop growing. So you want to, to kind of define the space you want to keep it, and then after it flowers in the spring, kind of cut it back within those boundaries some. So if you want it 10 foot wide, I'd probably take an extra 2 feet off the right and extra 2 feet off the left, and then let it fill back in and let it grow over the course of the season. It can, jump to the things that are near it, and it will. Basically every part of this vine has attached itself to a cherry tree up above, a crepe myrtle that's right here. Again, the power line's up there, so it can get, this is one of those, I'm not trying to discourage you from growing it, but I am trying to encourage you once a year to go out and just kind of prune it back some, and that's all you really need to do. It will get a little bit of leaf spotting. I've rarely ever seen one that was completely clean, so you'll see some spotting on the leaves. It doesn't seem to have that big of an impact on it, and especially in a space like this where it's getting some wind movement, it's in some open space. It doesn't seem to be something that really hurts the plant all that much. So just if you see that on yours, just don't worry about it. They are deer and rabbit resistant. They're on poison lists, so if that's a concern for you, I've never heard of any, of that being a problem. But again, that is a concern for some folks. But this is one of the most amazing, fragrant, native evergreens that we have here in the Southeast. It's widely adaptable, and once established can grow very quickly and offer you something like this, which is just incredible, this 20 feet of spring color and fragrance. Thanks for watching.